I need the cool. Welcome to Dynasty Happy Hour, presented by Fantasy Points. We are part of the Fantasy Points Media Group. And of course, this regular season has started, and you're probably going to need some weekly guidance because a lot of wild stuff happened already and is happening in week one, as we all knew it would. Week one is my favorite week because we plunge into the unknown. You know, we think the Green Bay Packers are going to lead the NFL in scoring again, and then they don't do anything, just like we all predicted. But Fantasy Points is going to have your back. 90% of the subscribers make the playoffs. It's not too late. It's only week one. If you lost, it's not a big deal. Make sure you go and subscribe. Use code 21DHH10. Tyler, James, my co-pilots are here to steer this ship. We are going to give our review. We're going to go game by game, and we're each going to give a Dynasty-related take, obviously, because we're a Dynasty podcast. Thanks for joining. On each game, and try to keep it as short and succinct as we can so we're not here for 5 hours, because I could literally talk about football for 5 hours today with all the things that have happened, but we're going to try to do our best to cram it into an hour-ish and do our thing. So first, James, what is new in Jersey, my friend?
New in Jersey. Daniel Jones knows how to fumble.
Garbage touchdown at the end there. Ooh, saved his bacon.
Yeah, he knows how to fumble really well.
So, by the way, thanks. I do want to thank him for throwing the ball to Sterling Shepard, because I actually swapped him out for OBJ in the Analyst League. So
very nice.
Thank you for that.
Good substitution. Tyler, your two teams didn't look so hot today.
Yeah. I mean, one I'll mark down to he wasn't ready as a head coach yet. I think he's got to kind of smooth out the edges, the very sharp edges that are a new head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Sirianni outplayed him, which is very sad to say. But yeah, I mean, and the Vikings lost when it looked like the Bengals wanted the Bengals wanted them to win. Like the Bengals in overtime were trying to give it to them, but nope. Minnesota lost, which, I mean, hey, we'll talk about that game.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about every game starting with Thursday, but we do have some injury news to go over and some interesting decisions here, some shocking inactives. I want to start with that because when I saw that Zach Moss was going to be a healthy scratch, I was like, okay, I know there's a bunch of people that love Zach Moss in the Dynasty community, and that must have been a hit to the old ego for him to be a healthy scratch. And then, so that one, I was like, okay, I adjusted one lineup. I took out Jacoby Myers. I put in Devin Singletary and UDPL because I was like, starting running back. I do like Singletary, whatever. And then the other one, which is even more surprising because this guy was sneaking into the late first round in rookie drafts this year. Trey Sermon was inactive. And then after the game, when Shanahan was asked why, he just said Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty just beat him out in the preseason and in training camp. And I was like,
Doug,
whoa.
Who did I compare Trey Sermon to?
I forget.
Zach Moss. I said, hey, if you like Zach Moss, Trey Sermon is your guy.
Team inactive with those two. Those two were shockers to me for Sermon. And then for Shanahan to come out and be like, yeah, Sermon just got beat out. And I was like,
it's because he's slow.
Boy.
He doesn't have much burst to him. And you know what Shanahan's system is about? Speed. Speed, get to the hole, and take off.
Yeah, and we'll talk about one of the injuries in that backfield today. But James, you're a Zach Moss fan. Do you think, this is a trend, or are you concerned? Like, what's going on here? Do you have any insider information about Zach Moss as inactive, or is he just not that good?
You would hope it would be the latter, right? Just to prove me bad at my job. But
never.
No, I don't know, man. It's hard to tell what's going on with Zach Moss at this time. We know that he was banged up during training camp late in the preseason. I think it may have something to do with that. Maybe he didn't respond well to practice because he practiced all week. There was nothing on the injury report. So it is something to question going forward. And I want to see what's going on and look a little bit deeper into it. But yeah, it's definitely concerning.
The only thing I could think of is maybe Buffalo was thinking it was going to be a track meet against Pittsburgh, and it was the exact opposite. So maybe they were like, you know what, Moss isn't like super active in the passing game. Let's go with Breda. Let's go with Singletary. Do the speed thing. That's the only thing I can think that justifies it. Other than that, like maybe they're just not happy with him, but whatever. And Trey Sermon, obviously, if you're in Dynasty, if you're still a Trey Sermon believer, it's a buying window, but I would be scared of that based on what we saw today, because let's roll into injuries. Raheem Mostert, of course. We all love Raheem Mostert when he's healthy and he plays
2
for
carries,
the 10%
20
of the time.
yards, looks explosive, dominant.
Great matchup.
Yeah.
And
it
guess
didn't
what?
take long.
Yeah, so Raheem Mostert gets hurt. He's on the sideline. Now, he wasn't like in the locker room or anything, but he didn't come back, probably to be safe. So they hand the ball to Elijah Mitchell. What does he do? Rushes for 100 yards and a touchdown. No big deal. Fun fact, one of my redraft leagues, you can actually pick up players while they're playing. It's a fun twist. And I picked up Elijah Mitchell in the middle of the game. It was great.
Hey, I picked up Elijah Mitchell and Scott Fishbowl on the 8th
Nice.
for T.Y. Hilton. I
Very
was telling
nice.
James this off camera, and I said, hey, I was just looking at my free agent list because I did it after bidding. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be somebody here. And I'm like, you know what? The rushing attack is insane. I'm not a big Trey Sermon fan. Let's take a chance. And it looks like it'd be one of the best pickups I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's still available in my division, so I know his fab number is going to be probably high. Unless we hear
80s.
Mostert is going to be okay, but even then, I would still get him.
I'm just happy I lost a lot of fab bids this week because I know a lot of people dumped money on Tyson Williams and all that. So I can go out there and maybe sneak up some Elijah Mitchell.
There you go. I like that. So obviously Mostert got injured. Brandon Nyuk was not injured. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Let's go back to the Thursday night game because there was a notable injury in that game, and that was Michael Gallup. It looks like he's got like a sprained calf, ankle, lower body, leg injury. Looks like he is going to miss 3 to 5 weeks with that calf injury, which is a bummer.
Horse races.
Yeah, so Gallup was looking pretty good. He was making some acrobatic catches along the sideline. So obviously you're going to be missing Gallup for at least a month, which kind of stinks. I'm going to try to go game by game here as if I can look at it.
Yeah, that's okay.
The biggest one.
Let's hit the big one that happened today.
Yeah, the big one was Jerry Judy. So, he's trying to convert a play. He gets tackled, kind of gets rolled up on awkwardly. Looked like it could have been a broken ankle and a season ender, but it looks like it's only going to be a high ankle sprain, and it's usually like a 6 to 8 week recovery for that type of injury. So that stinks because Judy was cooking. Cortland Sutton wasn't doing anything, and he didn't do anything afterwards
Judy
either.
On UDPL.
You do?
My God, I do.
Yeah, because whoever touches that roster is just dead.
Welcome to the Tyler's Team Stink podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, one team. One team.
One team. Yeah. So Jerry Judy is obviously the big injury here, along with Mostert. And then we've got Ryan Fitzpatrick for the Washington football team. He's older and suffered a hip injury, so we could probably just put him in a home. It's a hip sublimation.
It's too soon.
It's a hip subluxation, which isn't good. It's pretty much I think it's almost like a dislocated hip.
Yeah, it's like Tua's injury,
which could be a season ender. So it's maybe Cam Newton's season. Ron Rivera, I don't know. They do like Taylor Heineke, and he played okay.
Trade for Rodgers.
They've got Kyle Allen. Oh my God. But Cam Newton's a street free agent. He knows Rivera, although Rivera said that he wasn't really interested in Cam Newton. But you know what? You might be after this. Who knows? As I'm going through the games here, I'm trying to think of anyone else that stuck out that got injured. Rashad Penny got injured. There's a shock. Not a major injury, but he is banged up. Let's see. Nothing.
We didn't talk about Curtis Samuel not even getting into the game.
So Curtis Samuel is on IR with a hamstring injury, so he's going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season, which isn't great.
Not a short term, so it was only 3.
Yeah, but I think his injury, they said he's going to miss closer to like 6.
Okay.
So I think he's going to be out for a bit. Any other injuries that you guys can think of before we move on here?
Andy Dalton's ego right now, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's just bruised. He's probable to return.
He's a redhead. He didn't start off with one.
Not an injury, but definitely a concern. OBJ, they talked about him
He was
going into the game, and he wound up being inactive on the sideline with some sunglasses on, not even dressed. So that was a little surprising for me because initial reports came out saying that he was going to play.
I am just so out on OBJ. I don't roster him in any league anywhere. Thankfully, I'm just done. I'm just done with Odell Beckham. Like he's name brand. He's a name brand, and there's hopes and dreams attached to that name brand, and I don't want anything to do with it. The best days of his career are long gone. Sorry,
Which is
not
sad,
sorry.
because he was very good and fun to watch.
He was
but,
historic in his first 3 seasons, and ever since then,
injury, lower leg injuries.
Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers when he was a good player. It's been that long ago. So yeah, I'm out on that. So are you guys ready to cover? We're gonna start with these games, and I've got them listed in no particular order. You're just gonna have to roll with me. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. What we'll do first is I'll either take one or I'll go to somebody. We'll just figure it out. We'll go with the flow here. There's no formula.
We're just each gonna give a take from one game, either team.
Yeah.
Doug's gonna say the game, and then he's gonna just rip it off.
Absolutely. So let's start with the Dallas and Tampa game, because that was on Thursday night. And I'll give a quick recap of the game, just score. Tampa wins 31-29 in a shootout. A really nice game for the passing offenses, but the rushers didn't do bupkis. So Tyler, give me yours first. I'll go to you first because I'm nice like that.
Mine would have to be, I'm going to have to go with CeeDee Lamb. I know everybody's probably going to go there, but CeeDee Lamb, we all loved him. I think he's the dynasty darling. Mm-hmm. He had a couple drops. And then you know what happens when players drop the ball, because, it's not as easy as we all think catching a ball. I know everybody's bashing everybody for, Chase not catching balls during the preseason, but hey, you know what? It's not that hard. You're running full speed. You got to stop, catch, take off. There's people running around. So, their focus is insane to me. Lamb had a couple drops, but he ended up with 7 catches, 104 and a touchdown. He looks like he is... the first quarter, he looked like he was Dak's favorite target, and then another player came in that I'm guessing you guys will probably talk about. Another player kind of took the reins, which, when you're getting paid that much money, you kind of should. But CeeDee Lamb looks like he's going to be on a pretty good pace to be one of the top receivers this year. So if you bought high, you probably bought low. So good for you.
That was me and Bartab. I spent $400 of auction to get CeeDee Lamb, and I'm feeling pretty happy about it, needless to say. So, James, what do you got for Tampa v. Dallas?
Tampa v. Dallas. I want to talk about Dak Prescott, because there was a lot of doubt going into this game, and he really did look like he's fully healthy. He is ready to go. He took some chances on that ankle. He took some chances on the shoulder, and everything turned out fine. Over 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. I liked him. I liked watching him more than I liked watching Tom Brady. I don't know. Maybe it's because, I'm a Giants fan and I hate Tom Brady, but I'm going to slip this in here too. The connection between him and Amari Cooper is strong, like the force strong. 16 targets, 13 receptions between both of them. And man, those 2 touchdowns, it just looks like we'll be able to see this week in and week out.
Anybody else cringe when Dak got hit low a couple of times? I was like,
yeah. He did. Yeah. So his arm looked great. He had that injury with the lat strain. And when he ran, you could tell that he wasn't all the way back, but it wasn't awful. Let's put it that way. All right. So I'm going to be the quick hitter guy. I'm going to give you a couple quick hits to make up for the one take. First of all, Dallas, if Cedric Wilson is available on your waivers, he probably is. Go get him. Gallup's going to be out for a month. Wilson is the clear-cut wide receiver 3 there, and I like his talent. He's flashed before. The other one is O.J. Howard, absolute dust. Unless Rob Gronkowski gets hurt, he's not going to do anything on this team. So it's going to have to be another landing spot next year for O.J. Howard to hopefully live up to the hype that he had coming out of college. But unless Gronk gets hurt, O.J. Howard, dust. All right. Let's get on to the next game, and I'll give Tyler first crack at this one as well, because it obtains, or it has one of his teams in it. Minnesota, Cincinnati, an overtime thriller. My boy Dalvin fumbles at the end. They go to overtime. Cincinnati ekes it out 27-24. Tyler, what do you got for this one?
So I'm going to do another quick hit like you did. My first one, KJ Osborne. Hey, I told you guys to pick him up. Rumblings out of camp. Everybody I talked to that I know that are at camp has told me nothing but amazing things about KJ Osborne and the work he's put in. When you're going to Miami, you got to be at least a halfway decent recruit, and he's just non-producer. And my second one is Jamar Chase can catch the ball. Look at that. I am shocked.
I don't want to humble brag, but on my solo pod, Guru Game Guidance, check it out on the Trophy Time feed. I predicted 580 and a touchdown for Jamar Chase. I was pretty damn close.
My favorite part about it is the catches he was making. One slant, he actually had to reach behind him to catch it. It was a beautiful catch. And then his touchdown was something that you saw at LSU. It was just beautiful. He ran right past a defense. People forget how fast Chase is. Like, oh,
you literally have to chase him into the end zone.
He can't, like, all you heard all offseason was he doesn't cut on his routes quick enough. Like his edges are too kind of wide in his routes. It's like, who cares? If he gets open, he gets open. Like,
all right, Tyler, you've talked way too long. You said quick hits. You're just waxing poetic about Jamar Chase. So let's go. Let's hand it to James. It's his turn.
I'll do a quick hit. Joe Mixon lived up to the offseason hype. 29 carries, 127 yards, and a touchdown, 4 receptions. It really looks like they are going to lean on Mixon throughout the season to get the ball going. And man, he's really got no competition in the backfield. They really didn't use anybody else. So I'm looking forward to that. And if I'm a little upset. I kind of sold him in the offseason, but
coaching's terrible there. Ugh.
I'm a huge
the ball so much in overtime.
I'm a huge Mixon guy, and I think the reason that Mixon touched the ball so many times is that we all predicted that Burrow would throw the ball 600 plus times. He threw it under 30 times today, and Mixon touched it over 30 times. So
coaching is bad.
I think Burrow is like they're going to let him slowly get comfortable and then lean on Mixon when they can. And I think they both looked really, really good. So my thing is that I think the passing volume will eventually turn up for Cincinnati. This was a close game throughout, so it wasn't like the typical Cincinnati's down by a couple of touchdowns and needs to throw. I think this could be a little bit more regular, but I think we'll start to see Joe Burrow's passing volume come up as they play teams that are going to score more frequently on them. So,
and you mentioned Dust. You mentioned Dust, Patrick Peterson. Dust.
Oh, total Dust.
Pat Pete is.
Can we just go through every game and name the Dust?
I watched all of this game. I watched all of this game, and even Cousins looked a little.
He was okay
dusty
today. He's still a solid QB2 in Superflex. All right,
if he was vaccinated, I think he'd probably play better.
Same thing with Cole Beasley. I think he probably would have had at least an extra few receptions.
No political views.
It's not political. I'm just saying. All right, so the next game, I'm going to take the first one here. And I don't like to do victory laps early in the season. But Philadelphia 32, Atlanta 6. I thought Kyle Pitts was amazing. And what happened to Tyler? I thought he was going to pop off. The Eagles are trash against tight ends. And I'm just, I know it's only week 1. And I'm doing this as a bit, by the way.
8 targets.
Yeah. What did he do with them? 4 catches for 40 yards?
Yeah, it's because coaching was bad. Arthur Smith was way over his head this game, and I think he'll kind of come back down to earth.
Yeah, I think this is one of the more polarizing storylines of the fantasy and football season for me is Kyle Pitts, because there is a hardcore group of people whose opinions I trust that are so sold on Kyle Pitts. And I'm like, you guys are just overhyping him to the moon, and you have to be more realistic. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends. But that was my first thing looking at this. I was like, oh man, I got to give Tyler crap for Kyle Pitts. But real quick, if none of you guys are going to talk about Miles Sanders, I'll gladly do it.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So Miles Sanders, real quick, everyone was doubting Miles Sanders. He looked really good today. That offensive line was improved. I know Gainwell got a touchdown, but it was after Sanders got a long catch and run. Miles Sanders has been a value in Dynasty fantasy football all off season because everyone was so worried about a 50-50 committee. Trust the talent. I love Miles Sanders. I have him in a bunch of spots. That's all I'm going to say. We'll go to James next.
Mine is Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
I called the line. I think I called 275, 3 touchdowns, and about 50 yards rushing. He definitely exceeded that on 7 carries.
You played Bishop Sycamore's defense. It's
all right,
pretty easy.
Wait a second, Tyler. I'm gonna dust on Tyler real fast because he won't stop. He's saying Arthur Smith this, Arthur Smith that. Nick Sirianni
our defense is bad.
He just coached his first head coaching gig too.
He
all right, so why are you using that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The defense.
He coached the offense.
Tyler, is that a set of crutches I see behind you? Because you seem to be using them pretty often.
I mean, they didn't even get a touchdown.
Yeah,
Come
they're
on.
not. They did not.
What happened to
look
Calvin
good at
Ridley?
all.
Wide receiver.
looked good in the
one.
first quarter.
Exactly.
What happened to
Calvin
Mike
Ridley even
Davis?
had-
He's going to be good. No one ever said that. I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson looked okay, 54 yards
Dust.
rushing.
I mean, if you're stat watching, if you actually saw a little bit of the game,
Yeah, I mean,
he
they
didn't-
looked absolutely terrible. Matt Ryan
Terrible.
looked frustrated, and
As he
new
should have been.
offense.
I mean, are Arthur Smith? Can he be the dust in this? Are we throwing him in the dust pile?
He is.
We're sweeping him out after 1 week.
We've seen it before with Atlanta and Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan sucks at getting a system together year one. He always has. Shanahan's system, every system he's played in has been garbage year one. Year two is when he picks it up. Who knows if Arthur Smith will get a year two? But all I know is, this
If
team
that's the
is going to
case,
be
why
bad
did they go Kyle Pitts? They should have just took a quarterback
because
at
of
4.
Matt Ryan's contract and not being able to cut him for 2 years.
Sounds like a crutch.
It
Sounds
is
like a crutch.
Atlanta's.
If Philadelphia can
money-
get rid of Carson Wentz, they could have figured out something for Matt Ryan. I'm sorry.
Probably.
That's all
But,
I'm saying. They just didn't want
my
to put the
t-
work in and
my
take
take-
the L.
My take is Love. By the way, I do like Pitts' targets. He'll be fine. I just think they need to
Sure.
better coaching. But my take is Kenneth Gainwell is a clear number 2 in Philly.
Mhm.
He looked great. I love seeing another
Running
player.
back wearing number 14 was just weird.
It was
The
weird,
numbers
yeah.
threw me off today.
Yeah.
I like on defense when I see 11, that really threw me off. I was like, why is a wide receiver out there? What is he doing? Oh
Or a
crap.
linebacker wearing number 8. Like,
Yeah. But no, like Gainwell looked really good in the running game. Like he had 9 carries for 37 and a touchdown, and he was involved in the passing game. Yeah, I mean, you did not see Boston Scott out there. It's Gainwell as a 2.
Yep.
And if that's the case, Gainwell can be a flex play for you week in, week out, because as much as I agree Sanders look good, they're not going to put all the weight on him. Gainwell's going to get play.
No. And as long as Jalen Hurts plays well, it's wheels up for Sanders and Gainwell. Like,
Yeah, agree.
the advantage, you saw it on the field today when Hurts was rolling, and it just opens up opportunities for Sanders and Gainwell. So I love that.
Devonta
Great
Smith is going to
chemistry,
get
and he spread
peppered
the
with
ball around,
targets.
too. I'm sorry.
Smith is going to get peppered with targets. He's a wide receiver 2 this year, in my opinion.
And I also checked the pulse on Jalen Reagor. He's still
He's
alive,
alive.
folks.
He's alive.
He's alive. He looked
6
fast.
for 6. Beautiful.
Yeah, he looked good. All right, let's move on to the next game. We've got the San Francisco 49ers eking out a win, 41-33. It was like 38-10 at one point. And
It was nail biting at the end.
And
wasn't
San
it?
Francisco, they lost one of their best corners, Jason Verrett, to a torn ACL, who's just had so many injuries in his career. He had an awesome year last year. They lose Mostert. There's some hot takes in this one. Let's start with Tyler on this one for San Francisco at Detroit.
Oh man, like you said, there's so many. If you guys don't hit on it, just bring it up. I think you guys know the double dragon in the Detroit backfield. If I don't bring it up, you guys do. But I do want to bring up Jared Goff and how I personally think he just fits in this offense. Like this offense, they're just like, hey, the tight end, the running backs, and we got a couple possession receivers that we could use here and there when we need them. But hey, Jared Goff, all we need you to do is dump it off to these playmakers, and that's it. What is Jared Goff good at? Throwing the tight end, throwing the running backs. Fine. He can do that and accurately. So he's going to fit in this offense. If he has to throw this many times, he's going to be fantasy viable. And hey, he looks very good today. And this offensive line, Penei Sewell at left tackle looked great. Like, hey, you put him in his natural position, he's going to look great. So, hey, Detroit could have something here. And, I mean, I kind of liked what I saw out of Goff.
James, what you got?
I liked what I saw out of Goff as well. I'll piggyback off of that. And it's really TJ Hockinson.
Yes.
You know, we were calling it all week.
Hawkins season.
Hockinson. It was going to be his year. And I'm not sure about this stat, but I think the 97 yards that he got today is the highest by a tight end on the week. He also had 8 receptions for a touchdown. So, yeah, Hawkinson's good. Hawkinson's very, very good.
Know why he changes look like he did? Because he plays on Sundays. And what day is Jesus' day? Sunday. Hockenson looks like Jesus Christ now. It's Hockinson Day every week, guys.
I mean, it's
Full circle.
I would go
Full
Trevor Lawrence if I was going to do that because he looked like he was going to get crucified.
Jesus had a beard, and I don't think Trevor Lawrence can grow one.
Can either one of them work with wood? That's what I need to know. Just to
Yes, I
finalize
think
it.
Hockinson can be a great carpenter.
Hockinson looks like he could be like a lumberjack. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about Elijah Mitchell. He's going to be a hot pickup if you got him late in rookie drafts and he's on your taxi. Congrats, he could be useful for you this year. I want to talk a little bit about Brandon Ayuk. No targets. Deebo Samuel absolutely pops off and gets all the usage, all the yardage. I will tell you this, Deebo, I have him on a couple of squads. He's one of my favorite receivers to watch because of his yards after catch and his physicality, which I love. So Ayuk was coming off an injury. They played him on like 40% of the snaps, I think. So to me, it was more of a decoy type of thing. I'm not concerned about Brandon Ayuk. If you maybe send out some feelers to people that are freaking out and panicking, because we all know there's at least one of those people in one of your leagues. I think it's a good opportunity to go out and try to acquire Brandon Ayuk this week. And then Detroit really quick, Deandre Swift, Jamal Williams. It's going to be Swift, Williams, and Hockinson in the passing game. Now, we saw some plays towards the end of the game from Cephas made a nice play. Amon St. Brown made a nice play. Tyrell Williams was fairly active, but he targeted the running backs like 40% of the time today. Like that was huge. And Swift, Jamal Williams, I watched him play upright runner with not a lot of wiggle. Swift is just a different dude. It's so clear to me. It's only a matter of time before it's 70% workload for Swift and 30% Jamal Williams.
Yeah, remember he was banged up all week leading up into the game. Like we didn't even know if he was going to play up until this morning. I think you're right on point with that.
Mm-hmm. Swift had 11 targets. He could get 100 targets this year, and I don't think that's going to be shocking to me.
I mean, all he needs to do is get 5 a game for the rest of the year, and he can pull that off. So, yeah, it's pretty easy. Deandre Swift, again, another player like Miles Sanders that there was some value there over the summer. And,
very similar skill set as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, in redraft league, I actually got Sanders and Swift later than I anticipated, and they kind of fell into my lap. And I was like, I like both of these players. Give them to me. I started Sanders over Swift this week because I have a deep team, but it's nice to have one of those guys on the bench if in case of an injury or whatnot. So let's get on to the next game. It was Los Angeles Chargers eking out a win against the Washington football team. Fitzpatrick got injured early, like we talked about earlier. The Chargers win 20-16. Tyler, what do you got for this game?
Justin Herbert is going to be just fine. I was watching the game a little bit, and he had his early struggles, a little bit of rust. He looked
also against a really good Washington defense.
Yes, like this defense is very good, which made Patrick Mahomes look bad last year. We can't forget about that. Mm-hmm. Pat Mahomes looked garbage against them. Herbert, the fourth quarter hit a rhythm and was just hitting everything. Herbert is great. Herbert is honestly quarterback 2 for me in Superflex. He is right there.
You love you some Herbert. James,
I do.
What do you got for either of these
Herbert
teams?
didn't really have the fantasy game that I was hoping he would have, but obviously against that Washington defense, I can understand that. But he did resurrect somebody that we may have thrown out in Dynasty in Mike Williams. Mm-hmm. And I've been holding on to Mike Williams for so long. This just kicked open the sell window for Mike Williams. 8 receptions on 12 targets and a touchdown. He led the wide receivers for LA in fantasy today.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with Mike Williams, there was a lot of sharp people over the summer, mostly redraft people that were like, oh, Mike Williams is a value late. And I agree with them. But like Evan Silva, guys that are really intelligent, I kept hearing a steady drumbeat from Mike Williams. He's going into a free agency year as well. So I don't know if the Chargers are going to have the ability to pay him to keep him as a wide receiver too. But he may move on. But I think Mike Williams having the game that he did, it's pretty much Mike Williams and Keenan Allen still. I mean, we all love Josh Palmer. He didn't do much. They kind of spread the ball around a little bit. Jared Cook got involved late in the game. Donald Parham.
After watching the first 3 quarters.
Yeah,
Jared
but
Cook.
I think that my takeaway here is for Washington was the Antonio Gibson usage. Over 20 carries, super active in the passing game. It wasn't J.D. McKissick for 12 targets. Gibson was playing the role. He went 20 rushes for 90 yards, and then he had some receptions.
He had 3 catches for 18.
Yeah,
the game script changed a real fast too when Fitzpatrick went down.
Yeah, and I think obviously Fitzpatrick being healthy would be the best for Gibson, but Gibson is on the cusp of being that 25 to 30 touch guy. And just an instant reminder, if Gibson gets hurt, his backup is Jarrett Patterson. So get him rostered if he's available somehow in your leagues. That's all I'm going to say. And Larry Roundtree, looked decent.
Can I also say something?
Uh-huh.
A lot of people were on Diami Brown this week after Curtis Samuel is out. He went 1 for -2 on 4 targets.
I saw that one. It was a quick screen pass. He kind of fell. Yeah.
And Taylor Heineke is going to be just fine. Like you said earlier, they like him there. He went 11 for 15, 122 yards, and a touchdown.
He can scramble a bit too.
Yes, he's got some legs. Minnesota liked him for the longest time. They had him on their roster, hit him on the taxi squad the first couple of years, but they really liked him up here, and he showed a lot of promise. So
I think it might not be so bad in one league. Damn it.
All right, let's go to Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Pittsburgh wins 23-16. Ugly game for both of these teams. I'll start on this one. I like Josh Allen had an awesome year last year, but to me, when I looked at the stats and looked at Josh Allen, I was like, you know what? I think he's going to regress a bit. And this is a redraft take. I had a shot at the QB2. I took Kyler Murray over Josh Allen. There was just something that told me that Josh Allen was going to regress. I know it's only 1 week, but to expect what he did last year, like to be the new norm, I was skeptical. So far, so good. I could get burned by the end of the year, but Josh Allen, not so much. But Dawson Knox looks good. He's one of my breakout tight ends this year. I happen to wait on tight ends at least 7 to 8 years on my rosters before I let them go.
That's so true.
But Dawson Knox looks good. That's all I've got for this one. Let's give it over to James.
Man, you took the only good player, really. I like the fact that Gabriel Davis actually caught a touchdown. He was targeted a decent amount. Really, Claypool looked bad. I was not happy with Roethlisberger.
He had a fantastic catch. I thought Claypool made some
nice
great
reverse
grabs.
too.
I mean, he had a nice grab, but like you said, it was a disgusting game. There's really not too much to talk about here other than what happened. I thought, the defense. I thought the defense for the Pittsburgh actually just stood up better than I expected against.
Well, their defense is great. Their pass defense is really good.
I mean, they more or less won the game on that block kick.
Yeah.
That was the turning point in that game.
Mine is I'm worried about Najee. Like this was the worry people going in. He made some nice moves, but when you're making your moves 4 yards behind the line to get to the line of scrimmage, that could be an issue. Like the Bills' defensive line is okay. It's not the best, but it could be a problem. Like their offensive line lost a lot this offseason, and they did not draft many people to
they went on offense, not the line. They went on Najee and then Freiermuth,
and then they signed a couple veterans, but they need to mesh in order for Najee to be better. Najee, he'll be more involved in the pass game. He had 3 targets, 1 for 4, but man, like this
Big Ben didn't look good.
Big Ben didn't look good. Good luck finding which receiver you're going to want to start. I mean, Deontay Johnson's going to get the targets, but other than that, good. Have fun trying to start Juju or Claypool because you're not going to know what you're going to get each week. So
they're like a box of chocolates.
Oof. And I do agree. I think Josh Allen against this defense actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, and Devin Singletary had a nice game, like low-key.
Yes.
I thought he played well in his new role as feature back for the Buffalo Bills.
His yards per carry was good.
Yards
per carry were actually really good.
It was nice. I've always liked Singletary. He reminded me of like a poor man's LaShawn McCoy, the way that he moves.
I thought Frank Gore, like when him and Frank Gore were in there last year, I was like, what a perfect player to kind of.
You mean the year before that? It's 2 years.
Oh, year before that, yeah. Zach Moss was there, which is pretty much like Frank Gore because he's slow and has no movement. Like
he's so slow that he grows moss on him. It's true. I'm here for the dad jokes, people. All right. Next game, we have the Sam Darnold revenge game. Carolina beats the Jets 19-14. It wasn't actually that close. The Jets scored late to kind of pump up the score a little bit. Yeah, Tyler, I think I might know who you're going to talk about here, but I'm going to go to you first.
My first one's going to be congrats, Doug, for getting Corey Davis for a 3rd-round pick in the offseason. That'll be my first one.
Let's go.
And actually, I'm going to go with Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
He went, I think it was 6 for 16 to start. It was not good. And I honestly think it's kind of a little jitters. Carolina's secondary could be sneaky good. And
their whole defense played really well today.
Brian Burns is fantastic. I mean,
he reminds me of Chandler Jones. I've said it since his rookie year. Yeah.
Which, I mean, by the way, 5 sacks, Chandler Jones.
We'll get there. It's the next game.
Yeah. So, Zach Wilson, to me, I have him in one league. So, I don't have much
exposure.
Exposure. So, for me, I'm more along the lines kind of seeing it from an outside perspective. What I saw, I thought was promising. Like, I was not on Wilson. He looked bad the first half. And what do you got to do when you look bad the first half? You got to recover, make changes to your game plan. And he did that. My favorite part about him is if he's going to struggle, he's not going to throw it short and all these dink and dunk passes. This guy is a gunslinger. He likes to go deep, but I think he's safer than Drew Lock in that gunslinger aspect. Zach Wilson's going to be fine. He just got to, he's got that rookie bumps he's got to go through.
Yeah, I mean, it's his first game. He didn't play a ton in the preseason. Like, you have to make some adjustments.
Another rookie.
Are we blaming the coaching?
Rounder.
Are we blaming the first-time head coach?
No, because this coaching staff is fantastic.
Okay. Just making sure. Because, I had to think of some kind of excuse for Elijah Moore getting one reception for -3 yards.
He missed him deep on a couple plays.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the guy's a gunslinger, you're going to throw it deep. Make sure your receiver can catch it.
Like
and
Denzel Mims.
He had like Denzel Mims.
Gross.
Hey, I'd rather have
Sell.
Sell.
I like
Sell
Mims.
Mims. I like Mims.
Thank you.
He's a Baylor Bear. I like the Baylor
Mimsy.
Bears. Elijah Moore, man, he had a lot of hype going in. Won the spot in training camp, and yeah, week 1 falls on his face. So.
I got a couple quick things, and it's both of these teams' backfields. So the Jets, what a mess. I mean, I know Carolina's defense, their front 7, their defense is like low-key good. But like Michael Carter, Coleman, there was just nothing going on in that backfield. But I got to say, like, I can't gloss over Christian McCaffrey's performance. We saw Christian McCaffrey come back and do Christian McCaffrey things.
Yes.
And almost have 200 yards from scrimmage. I know he didn't score a touchdown, but yeah, I like CMC. That role is secure as all hell. He's not going anywhere. It looks like they're not taking him off the field. It's the same old for Christian McCaffrey.
Chuba had 2 catches, so they did take him off the field.
They could have been on the field at the same time for that. You don't know that.
They probably were.
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone, Christian McCaffrey's the 101 in Dynasty, and I'm going to say it a lot this season. If Christian McCaffrey finishes with that elite season, it's time to sell. Because the running back position, it's usually a couple of years. You get like a 3 to 4 year window. McCaffrey's in that window. If he's elite this year, for the long-term sanctity of your dynasty team, it's the safest bet to sell. Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, you name any running back that's been the 101 in startups, dust in like the next 3 to 4 years.
I mean, McCaffrey's been the 101 for
a couple of years,
2-3 years now. So, I mean, McCaffrey, I think, is going to have lasting value due to his pass catching. He'll probably last a little longer than those guys.
I mean, Bell was a pass catcher,
a big one.
I mean, he also took last year off.
Yeah, and also did a rap album. I mean,
he's cool. He's pretty fly for a white guy.
I'm just saying that the data says when a player hits this point, it's time to. It may suck and you have to swallow hard, but if you can get a really great return, then you got to at least consider it. Let's put it that way. All right, let's move on to the next game. We've got the Arizona Cardinals versus the Tennessee Titans. I'll cover this one first. I was on Tennessee's passing game in this game because Arizona's secondary is not great, but they played their butts off today. A.J. Brown saved the day with a touchdown, but Julio Jones, and he was getting a lot of targets early, didn't do anything. Fursker was silent. Derrick Henry started off slow. There was one point through the first quarter, Derrick Henry had more receiving yards than he did rushing yards, which was just crazy to me. But to me, it was the Tennessee I thought that Arizona's secondary, you know, they're starting Byron Murphy on one side, and then Robert Alford hasn't played in like 2 years on the other. But the back end, Budda Baker, he is so good. If you play IDP and you have Budda Baker on a team, like
Isaiah Simmons looked great.
Yeah, Budda Baker, chef's kiss. So for me, it was the Tennessee Titans passing game. I was concerned. Just Taylor Lewan, and he tweeted that he got his ass kicked all day. Chandler Jones is an absolute manimal. That's all I'm going to say. And let's go to James next.
I think it's like who practiced better in training camp, who gelled as a team. Tennessee looked lost out there. All right, It was like the tale of two different teams. Arizona
which is weird to say because Arizona looked like crap the preseason. They looked so bad.
Yeah, but did they really start? They didn't really play their starters.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they actually played Kyler for a long period of time, and people were like, why? Kyler didn't want to play that preseason game, and Cliff made him play.
The one good thing that stood out to me, which was pretty amazing, was Christian Kirk actually catching 5 for 5 and 2 touchdowns. I had written Christian Kirk off with Rondell Moore coming into this offense, and although Rondell Moore got the targets equal with Kirk was able to turn them into touchdowns, and it looks like Kirk will be around to stay. So his stock is definitely up after this. I
was told AJ Green is back by many people.
He did make a nice sideline catch that was vintage AJ Green, but that was about it.
He did have more targets than both Kirk and Moore, but didn't turn him into anything.
Yeah, Tyler, what you got?
Another Cincinnati situation.
What do I have? I have Chase Edmonds is the running back to own in Arizona. And I mean, Connor.
I don't know that I want either one of them, but okay.
That's right. I mean, it's pretty much Kyler Murray is who you want in this offense.
Yes.
Wow. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, for as lost as he looked in the preseason, it's the exact opposite what he looked like in the opener. And I mean, yikes! Like this guy could break the whole fantasy football in half.
When I took Kyler Murray in redraft as the QB2, in the back of my head, I said, "There's no reason why Kyler can't have a 2019 Lamar Jackson type season, but better in the passing game because he's got the weapons and he's a better passer than Lamar." So I was like, ceiling. Yeah, I like Kyler's ceiling over Josh Allen, and that was one of my ways that I kind of like worked through it.
Keep buying Rondell Moore. Keep buying.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know the funny thing is like, so I play a little bit of DFS, and it was so easy. DeAndre Hopkins over his career against Tennessee just absolutely destroys them. When he was with the Texans, it was 100 yards and a touchdown every single time. So I had Hopkins in a bunch of lineups, and he just does what Hopkins does against Tennessee. Easy money, people. Easy money. All right, let's move on to the next game. We've got Seattle beating Indianapolis 28-16. Let's go to James first.
Okay. This is the only game that I could not watch anything. I watched 8 other games going on at once. I didn't see too much of this, but I mean, the way I'm looking at it is it's going to be a 2-headed monster in Indianapolis with Nyheim Hines. Got a lot of work.
Got Jonathan paid too.
Jonathan Taylor looks good. Yeah. Shout out Nyheim Hines getting paid. And that's about it. My downfall, Michael Pittman did not look that impressive.
I remember a few weeks ago when I said, watch out for Zach Pascal, that rascally rascal, like be decent in this offense. And he scores 2 touchdowns today. Because
he's for sale.
He's always like, he's always that guy that you don't expect that ends up having decent stats. It's weird. It's Zach.
So you're saying you're interested in UDPL. Okay.
No.
We'll talk.
I'll give you a 2024 fifth. Tyler, what do you got for this game?
I mean, we could have something there. What I have is Chris Carson is healthy. That's what I want to say.
He looked good.
And man, like if there's a running back you want to stay healthy all year and just see what he can do, it's Carson because he is very good. And Russell Wilson's deep ball is ridiculous. And Tyler Lockett playing center field.
Yeah, Willie Mays in it over the shoulder.
Oh man, what catches he had. Like those 2 catches were great.
Yeah. So DK got off to a slow start, but then righted the ship too.
It looks like we're gonna have that lovely, efficient Russell Wilson for half the season at least. Hopefully the second half of the season doesn't burn and crash like like it always does.
That is very true. My takeaway in this one was Jonathan Taylor, his activity in the passing game. So even though Naheem Hines got paid and he is their primary pass catcher, Taylor still caught 6 balls for 60 yards. And Carson Wentz kind of played that game manager role. He didn't risk any crazy plays. And I thought he looked pretty solid in his first game as a Colt and, his first game back from that foot injury. So I thought that was positive to see Carson Wentz play that way. He wasn't making those poor decisions that he made in Philadelphia. And I think that was partially by design because they want to ease him in and they want to be like, yo, you've got just take it easy, game manage, let the defense play. They made it a closer game than it actually looked like. But yeah, so I thought Carson Wentz's performance was promising. Let's put it that way. All right, let's get to this one. This was a fun game to watch parts of. It was Jacksonville against Houston. Houston wins 37-21. Good debut for Trevor Lawrence. He turned it over 3 times, but he did have over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that's all good for fantasy, right? That's what we want to see. And then Houston, I ended up picking up Tyrod Taylor in a few leagues dirt cheap, even in Superflex and UDPL. He was a free agent. I spent $50 on Fab and picked him up. I've always liked Tyrod Taylor, and he looked pretty damn good today. And he did what Tyrod Taylor does, 40 yards rushing. It's like an extra passing touchdown. That's what he's done his whole career outside of his getting his lung punctured in LA last year. So, yeah, Houston and Brandon Cooks, if you acquire Brandon Cooks in the offseason, congrats, because all he does is get 1,000-yard seasons on every team that he's on. So
performs ADP every year.
And in redraft, he was falling into the 8th or 9th round. It was ridiculous. I got Brandon Cooks so late in some drafts. Just people disrespecting because who's the quarterback there? It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Brandon Cooks is just good. I think one of you guys will talk about one of the surprises in this game, but if you don't, I'll circle back to it. But James, give me your take here on Jacksonville and Houston.
I mean, the one thing that was surprising was Carlos Hyde outsnapping James Robinson 9-5.
Urban Meyer is so annoying.
So, we talk about first time coaches and that one was mind-boggling to me. And is it going to be a headache the whole season? Most likely. So yes. Everybody that was out there after ETN went down saying James Robinson to the moon, pump the brakes a little bit. And you might be stuck with James Robinson in a tough place. I know I have Carlos Hyde. I went out there and just scooped him up when ETN went down. And you know what? I'm a little bit happy that Hyde actually showed up a little bit and outscored Robinson.
Yeah, Urban Meyer's that coach is well, I coached him in college, so we'll run him out there now. One of those nepotism-y type decisions. It was terrible. Tyler, what do you got for this game?
First of all, I'm very upset at whoever big name people you are that told me Pharaoh Brown won't be a thing because I dropped him in 3 leagues, in 3 Dynasty leagues, thinking, okay, these guys are smarter than I am. It makes sense.
He's a unit.
But my main thing is if you have Jacksonville's passing offense, you're going to get fantasy points because they're going to throw a lot because this defense is bad.
It's going to be very much like Blake Bortles days.
Yes, except with a
better quarterback.
Yeah, with a very good quarterback because Trevor Lawrence looked awesome today. Some of the throws he made. By the way, DJ Chark, 12 targets. That's
didn't
very
see that
good,
coming.
but 3 catches. So, I mean, the efficiency has got to go up there. But Trevor, 51 pass attempts. He's going to do awesome things this year. He could probably be a 4,000-yard passer, no problem. He's just got to limit the turn.
I think
he's got to limit the turnovers.
I think we're reading the stats a little bit on this. I was watching some of this game, and Lawrence didn't look as impressive as his fantasy numbers do, as his totals did. They were playing catch up for most of the game.
You like Zach Moss, so I don't know if we can actually trust your evaluations on players.
Erroneous on all accounts. So man. The guy threw 3 interceptions, barely surpassed 300 yards on 51 passes. That is not efficient. That is not something I want. With throwing that many balls, he should have had over 400 yards. And he should not have made he made a lot of mistakes
NFL
against a Houston's defense that is terrible.
First NFL game. Hey, Houston's defense, we all are seeing these moves they're making. Maybe they have something. We all sit here and be like, oh, Houston's dog crap. You can't look at that team as being good. What do we know? I mean, what we do know is they actually played as a unit very well. So Houston's defense, maybe they aren't who we thought they were.
Can
But
we go
Trevor
back to
Lawrence,
the? Can we
Maybe
go back to
Jacksonville's
the
offense isn't who we thought they
maybe.
were.
Can we go back to the dust segment for a second? So
Sure.
David Johnson. I know. So Johnson, Lindsey, and Ingram all scored touchdowns in this game, so that's fun.
Yeah.
David Johnson, dust. Who thought Mark Ingram was going to have 26 carries, and the next most on the Texans would be 8? Mark Ingram got the workload. And here's the thing. I don't trust this because I think it could change every week because all three guys are capable. So super interesting. I picked up Ingram at the end of the year, like last waiver run, someone dropped him and I'm like, I'll throw a minimum $800,000 bid and pick him up and keep him on my roster in case he signs with somebody. Didn't think in week 1 he'd have 25 plus touches and a touchdown. Crazy to me, but yeah, if you thought Mark Ingram was dust, he just got a little bit of value for you. So say la vie. That's all I got to say about that. Let's get on to our next game. We're dipping into the 4 o'clocks now. We got Denver 27, Giants 13. We all know about the Judy injury. Tyler, what do you got for this game?
Let me see here. Let's go with the running backs for Denver, and it looks like Melvin Gordon still has juice. That 75-yarder, that 70, I think it was a 70-yarder.
70-yarder.
His run, when I saw it, it looked like Wisconsin days, because he kind of changed his personality with San Diego then, and he's more of a between the tackles power guy. But in Wisconsin, people forget. People are like, oh, he's Jamal Charles. He's got speed. He's got some juice.
He can bounce out to the edge.
Yes, that's what he looked like. That's what I saw this game, and it looks like Javonte and him are going to split the carries, and I think Gordon could be here to stay. So if you got him for a pretty good value this offseason, it looks like you got a pretty good RB2, RB3 for your team this year.
James, what you got?
I like what I saw from Teddy Bridgewater. We thought he was just going to come in and be a game manager. He did take a couple shots that
get a tighter helmet, Teddy.
Yeah, he lost his hat a few times.
Yeah, he lost his hat a couple times there. Got chipped up, checked his nose for blood once or twice. I think I saw that. And no, I saw a couple times when they were down in the red zone. They took some shots. I believe one was to Albert O in the end zone. And that was amazing for him to actually scramble. He scrambled very well out of the pocket, avoided the pass rush. Although, yes, it's the Giants pass rush. So I don't know how much you could take with that with a grain of salt, I guess. But no, he played pretty good for in his first game as a Denver Bronco. And I'll note that. I mean, he may be a viable fill-in super flex quarterback going down the road, depending on the schedule, of course.
Yeah, my takeaway from this one was more of like a deeper cut. It was Albert O getting some targets. And I talked about this in the offseason that, like, I know we all love Noah Fant, his athleticism. Let's not forget how athletic Albert O is. I know he had the big injury last year.
4.49.
And he had a fumble in this game, but he looked good. So I think there could be enough that they're going to use both of these tight ends to make it annoying if you own Fant. But I also think they're going to use them enough where if Albert O is floating around on your waiver wire, like, go grab him. Why not? Because we all know that Fant is constantly nicked up. And I think if Fant is nicked up and Albert O steps in, there's not a huge drop off to me.
Can I
between the two?
One more thing? I'm very worried about Barkley. If he's not going to get targets, he might not be as useful as we hope.
James, you're a Giants fan. What do you say?
He did get a couple targets. He wound up getting 3 targets. They really only threw to the running back 5 times total in this game. So
Booker had that sick one-handed catch.
Yeah, for what, 6 yards?
It wasn't much.
The game script was totally against them after their first touchdown drive.
It's always going to be against you guys.
Well,
it's always going to.
Okay, so the writing's on the wall then, and I'll be honest, I don't own Saquon in Dynasty anywhere. I'll root for my Giants every single Sunday and twice if they play on Monday.
I don't roster him anywhere either.
But I don't roster Saquon Barkley mainly because of the injuries, and he was very expensive to grab, even though this year he came in a value at drafts and startups. I avoided him. I don't like to play the homer thing too much, but obviously you can't sell him right now after a game like he just had today. I would wait. He's going to progress. He only had 10 carries today. It'll probably be 15 carries next week. It'll probably be 20 to 25 touches by week 3 or 4, depending on how he handles this rehab. He was questionable coming into this game, so I don't want to look too much into it just yet.
He was so questionable. I told my buddy in a redraft league, he was like, "Oh, these are my options." I'm like, bench Barkley for Tyson Williams. Like, that's how questionable he was.
Smart, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, hopefully it ends up working out. Hopefully Williams has a decent game against the Raiders tomorrow night. But all right, let's get into the next game. Lots of points in this one. This was a fun game. Kansas City trailed early. Cleveland had all the momentum in the first half.
This is a game of the week, really.
And then the Cleveland's Browns, they brought their brown pants because they pooped in them in the second half, and they lost 33-29. James, give me your takes in this one.
Oh, my takes in this one. Baker looked great. He looked very efficient, 21 for 28, did not make too many mistakes except for the one interception that pretty much ended the game for them.
Yeah.
When he was he got the pocket just closed.
Yeah, he was falling forward as he was getting tackled.
It collapsed on him. The other thing was Nick Chubb's fumble. Like, if Nick Chubb did not fumble that ball, we would be talking about the Cleveland Browns beating the Kansas City Chiefs. That really turned the tide there, and it was disappointing, but it was great to see both running backs getting some work for fantasy purposes.
Tyler?
Nick Chubb only fumbled because he was squeezing that ball so tight. The ball tried to get the heck away from Nick Chubb because he's a monster.
It was like Deflategate Part 2.
Like, he looked great. He really did look good.
Nick Chubb is the funnest player for me to watch. Period. Bar none. I love watching Nick Chubb run. He was running and went off the sideline and hopped on the freaking bench, just standing next to Mecole Hardman, and looked like 3 times the size of Mecole Hardman. So when you're sitting there,
Google Nick Chubb in high school running track, and you're going to be like,
So everybody talks about Derrick Henry's height and size. Nobody talks about how actually gigantic Nick Chubb is as a human being.
Because he's more compact.
Yes, and how fast he can run. Nick Chubb is in the perfect offense for him. I would not be shocked if he hits like 16, 17, 18 touchdowns this year. Like,
he was my RB3 for the season.
I mean,
nice.
I mean, he's not going to be as involved in the passing game. He'll probably end up with 20 to 30 catches, which is going to be fine because he's going to score a bunch of touchdowns. He's going to break a lot of big runs. He's going to get you the points. I love watching Nick Chubb, and that was like my favorite part of the game. Can I go to the other running backs, or are you going to say it?
No, you can go do. That's fine.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire might not be a good fit for Kansas City. I'm here, and I'm going to say it.
It's the Hill and Kelsey show, man.
Yes,
it's the Hill and Kelsey show. Like,
it's just this offense is built for 2, and Edwards-Helaire.
They can't make it a throuple. It's not going to work.
I thought Edwards-Helaire on a lot of routes, even when Mahomes was running around, looked great. But what Mahomes is doing on those runarounds, he's looking for 87 and 10. He's looking for 87 and 10. His safety blankets, his binky. That's it. And I mean, that's all you need to know. Mahomes is great. By the way, thanks, Al. And Edwards-Helaire just isn't going to, I don't know. He's not going to be a great fantasy producer in this offense.
Hi, Tyler. Yeah, I don't have too many takes other than like Kansas City is the easiest team to predict every week. It's Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill, and Helaire. Yeah, you can start him as a flex, but I mean Mecole Hardman, he might pop off here and there, but there's no Byron Pringle breaking out in this offense, guys. Like It's just it is what it is.
They might trade for somebody, maybe.
And then do what? Like they're not gonna. Yeah, like they're not gonna.
Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins.
It would have been interesting if they did sign Juju in the offseason.
Yeah, and that would have been a perfect fit for kind of what they need.
Yes, he would have been like another Kelsey, like middle of the field.
Yeah.
One more quick point: you may want to go put it in a waiver claim if he's available for Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah, he looked good.
May the Schwartz be with you.
And Baker was not afraid to target him, which was nice to see. Baker was throwing some darts downfield. David Njoku.
I mean,
he looked clean, man.
Led the team in receiving. Let's go.
He looked clean and confident until that last drive.
Doug's Prince.
My guy. I love Njoku. All right, let's get on to the next game, which was not a very offensively exciting game. The Miami Dolphins beat the New England Fumbly Patriots 17-16. I called it on my show that Jalen Waddle was going to have a touchdown. I thought he'd get at least 100 yards. He got close. Looked really good. They didn't use him stretching the field super deep today, but Waddle looked great. That's my feedback. And Damian Harris looked good, but the fumble, man, oh, that was a killer. That was like the Chubb fumble. Once Harris fumbled, it was like a wrap.
Is Harris gone from this earth? Like we saw Jonas Gray disappear from all.
That was because they had injuries. Like the Jonas Gray thing was such a fluke.
Bill Belichick can make somebody disappear like Thanos.
Stevenson.
So
Stevenson fumbled and they mothballed him for the most part.
Yeah.
Brandon Bolden was getting carries at the end of the game. James White looked good though, so that's great if you got him on a win now team. I love it. That's all I got. That's all I got. So Tyler, give me your Miami New England takes here.
You kind of took mine, and Jalen Waddle looks great. Jalen Waddle looks great. He was one of those guys where I said he could be an 80 reception type guy, and it looks like it could go that way. Tua, I still have a lot of skepticism in me with him. He looks, I don't know. He just looks like he's not confident in himself. And when you get replaced by Jacoby Brissett, I get it's just for a run, but hey, superstar quarterbacks don't come out of the game. And in moments when you need them in the game, they don't come out. They want the ball in their hands. And if I was Tua, I'd be up to that coach and say, no, I'm in. Give me the ball. And what does he do? He just kind of goes to the sideline and lets it be that. Mm-hmm. So I still have a little worry with Tua.
That's fair. James, what do you got for this game?
I like the receiving action on the New England side of the ball between Aguilar, Jacoby Myers. It looked like Mac Jones really wanted to spread the ball around, playing game manager, utilizing his tight ends. And we are going to see both of them do well on a weekly basis. It looks like they ran a lot of 12 personnel. And for those of you that don't know, that's, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and they did it pretty efficiently. Unfortunately, they did not win the game, but Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar looked pretty good. For those of you doubters out there, for the doubters out there that didn't trust Nelson Aguilar when he got picked up by New England, Bill Belichick knows what he wants, and he goes out and he went out and got it this season for a reason. And I think it's going to start to come together. Miami's not an easy defense.
No, they're a fairly good defense.
They're a fairly good defense. And I think they showed up pretty well. And Mac Jones played decent for his NFL debut.
I thought, like you said, he played efficient and he did what he needed to do to help the team win. It's just.
But they didn't.
Yeah, win. They fumbled it away. That's bottom line. They turned it over too many times. All right. Last game on the 4:00 slate. Who saw this one coming?
Wasn't a game at all.
38, Green Bay, 3 points. Wow. This was the shocker of the day. Not only shocking because Jameis Winston threw for 5 touchdowns, but Aaron Rodgers had 5 interceptions all year last year.
148 yards.
I know.
And
he had 2 interceptions in this one, Rodgers did. I'm concerned. I am concerned. Tyler, are you concerned?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been... if you're from Minnesota, you've learned, like they teach it in school. I think 6th grade, they actually have a class hating Rodgers. So that is a thing up here in Minnesota. So like you learn to dislike him. But man, like I was telling James before we started, his throwing motion looked off. He did not look like he was just, I don't know. It just looked like he wasn't him. He didn't care when he threw picks. He threw it over, went onto the bench, and just didn't care. Like, I don't know if it's just the chemistry with the whole team and coaching staff is done because
maybe
of what
he's
happened.
Just done. Yeah.
I honestly think it is. Like I said, ship him to Washington if he doesn't want to play for them. Because you know who looked good? Jordan Love, his backup, who I've said go buy this offseason, and you should still be buying because he is the quarterback next year. And in Superflex, quarterbacks have value. Every quarterback. Blake Bortles had value, even when we knew he sucked. So Jordan Love has tremendous value. I thought he looked good. He had a strip fumble that he had, but you know what? It was still not the worst play from that offense in that game. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers looks like toast. Like maybe it's a little rust, that could be the case. But yeah, if he plays like that again next week, yeah, there's a bunch of
I would have
red
hated.
flags
I
for
would have
me.
hated to see it what it looked like in the Superdome if New Orleans actually played at home. Like
Yeah.
That
how
would've been
bad it would have
different.
been. Like it would have been worse, I think.
Oh,
With
yeah.
that crazy crowd and like, yeah, it was just bad.
They
James,
said
you
that
got
the heat was an issue. That's what
wasn't
I
an
was
issue
getting.
for New Orleans.
I do want to
apparently
say
not. Apparently
wanna
they had air
say-
conditioning on their side of the field.
Davenport, who New Orleans traded up to get from Green Bay's pick. So people remember that New Orleans Saints traded another first-round pick to go get Davenport.
Mhm.
He showed up today, and that is a great sign for New Orleans if he can
Yeah,
actually
their defense
progress.
played really well. So James, anything from this game?
Juwan Johnson.
Yes.
Juwan Johnson looked great. He caught all 3 of his targets. Yes, it was only for 21 yards, but he got into the end zone twice. Adam Troutman was not really there. I mean, he had 6 targets, only caught 3 of them for 18 yards. Juwan Johnson is the tight end that you want to own in this
Jameis
offense.
loves him some tight ends.
And he was free up until today.
I do got to say,
up until probably a week or two ago, I picked him up in a bunch of leagues.
I know that was one of your guys, Doug.
If you have Jameis in a Superflex league, I would sell. His throwing motion, he takes so long in his progression.
I don't know. I think he looks different than he did when he was with Tampa, though. Like I don't know. I don't know.
It must be all those
I
workouts.
I had one share of Jameis in the Open Bar Best Ballish 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy for what I saw today out of Jameis.
And
he looks good.
Alvin Kamara looks great. Even at 20 carries. Ooh.
Well, my take was Tony Jones looks good. If Kamara goes down with an injury, Tony Jones is another guy you could have picked up a couple of weeks ago when Sean Payton was like, "Oh, Tony Jones is the backup, not Latavius Murray." So if you picked up Tony Jones too, TJ2 as I'm going to affectionately call him.
TJ2, I like that.
TJ2. I thought he looked really, really good. There was a point where he actually had more rushing yards than Kamara, and then they kind of gave Kamara the ball down the stretch.
Also, Tony Jones, why'd you start playing like this now when in Notre Dame you did not play like this?
Hey, sometimes it just takes players to get going.
I mean, Green Bay's run defense is pretty terrible.
Yeah, we could cover a little bit of this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the third quarter here. Just a quick lid. Currently, the Rams are winning. Matt Stafford's looking really, really good. David Montgomery is looking very good, which a lot of people were off of Montgomery, but he looks spry with that long run in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, David Montgomery, did he lose a little bit of weight? Did he get a little bit faster? What's going on with David Montgomery?" Yeah,
he's got a little pep in his step, as they say.
Absolutely. Van Jefferson, field stretcher. Who knew?
Oh, I like that.
That was interesting. But yeah, it's like Stafford's looking
Darrell Henderson looks like it doesn't matter who's the running back there. They're going to throw.
Was Sony Michel inactive in this game?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure he didn't see it coming.
Because it was right down the middle and he just couldn't pick it up. It was in his blind spot.
If he was, he didn't get the memo yet.
Yeah, definitely didn't get the memo. But yeah, Darrell Henderson, 5 carries for 6 yards. Yay. And 1 reception for 17 on 1 target. But
and just stay reserved on Mooney. He does have 5 targets, 17 yards, but he was limited going into this week. I didn't expect him to really blow up.
It's called Andy Dalton. He has a case of the Andy Daltons.
I mean, Dalton's 18 of 23, but only 130 yards. So he's not pushing it. He's not taking risky. He's not passing it downfield to Allen Robinson.
We're redheads. We don't take risk.
It's built in. It's built in.
He looks like right now Marquise Goodwin's his favorite target, which is pretty scary.
Woof. All right. Any final thoughts here, Tyler or James, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just it's week 1. Let's not panic completely. I know everybody's panicking on Zeke.
Oh my God, Zeke sucks. I got to get rid of him off my teams. He'll be fine.
Remember the Ogletrees that everybody overreacted to?
Kevin Ogletree.
Yeah, remember them. And don't overreact because things will go back to what we kind of expected. I mean, we do a lot of research and analysis for a reason because of stuff like this. And when things are outliers, like you saw today, they will actually become outliers further on the season because we'll be like, oh, week 1 was just kind of a fluke. So let's let it play out. And I saw from Matt Hicks on Twitter, and it said, if you weren't a rebuild before week 1, you're not a rebuild at week 1. So don't overreact and blow your teams up.
Tyler, take some of your own advice.
I'm already blowing that baby up. So
Yeah.
We've got Montgomery on the sideline right now, getting his hand looked at by a doctor. So
Cool. We'll keep an eye
to
on
be
that.
continued. And Fields looks like he's in the game now. So that looks
yeah,
great.
and with Montgomery, that's always been a concern. He's been an often injured player, so
He
that's
plays
always
running
come with
back.
the
It
risk.
comes with the territory.
Yes.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up this week. Make sure to check out fantasypoints.com. We are part of their network. It's code 21DHH10 to get some money off your subscription and make your playoffs in your leagues. You want to do that. And code DHH Ring when you go to Trophy Smack. When you buy a belt, a grill, or a trophy, you get a free championship ring. DHH Ring is the code. That's a $60 value for the cost of nada. It's a freebie, so make sure you go and do that. Thanks for listening this week. The crew here will not be back next week. We are in the odd week, so we'll be back in week 3. Tyler, what can our listeners expect in week 2?
Yeah, we are bringing back Chasing Points with Chase Vernon from the FF Circle crew, and he's got a couple
Fantasy intervention.
And he is going to be bringing on 2 other people. Taylor is not back with us, so there's going to be 2 other people coming on with Chase to go over the week games.
Awesome. So make sure you tune into that next week, and we will see you guys back in week 3 here on Dynasty Happy Hour.